The Walther PPQ versus the CZ P10C. Let's check it out. In 2011, Walther introduced their PPQ. It turns out to be one of the best striker fire triggers on the market. One of the reasons for that is a preset striker. So it takes out all that play and it makes a very crisp snap and a very short reset. But CZ just introduced their P10C. And I just recently did a full review on this pistol. And of course during that time I did some trigger comparison, and to me the CZ P10C has a much better trigger. One of the things we're going to do today is we're going to take these both out to the range, we're going to shoot them side by side, and we're going to talk about a lot of the similarities of these two pistols, not only the trigger, but we're going to really kind of focus in on the trigger itself, but the feel, the finish, and some of the pros and cons of both of these pistols. Now guys, right out of the gate, if you already own a Walther PPQ, we're just going to look at the differences of these two pistols, and there are some differences. And why you would want to possibly own a CZ P10C being new. But one of the big things that the Walther PPQ offered originally and really transformed the trigger on your striker fire pistols is that it has what they call the quick defense trigger. It is an internal preset striker, and that means that the striker is in a constant cock state. I mean, and what that does is it keeps the trigger pull doesn't cock the striker, which that's one of the things about the Glock, why it has that kind of a mushy feel to it, and the other striker fire pistols that were predecessors to the PPQ. But the PPQ has been known again to be the best striker fire trigger on the market. And guys, I'm telling you, I did a review where I compared this to the HK VP9. Those are very close, but these two pistols are very well made. CZ has a huge reputation. Of course, Walther does too. One of the things though that the Walther is going to have an advantage of right up front is that there is a track record. These guns have just hit the market. In fact, at the making of this video, these have not even began to approach distributors and dealers. And I was really fortunate to get this pistol. So that is one thing that we need to consider right up front. But with the CZ quality, this, unless there's something unknown, and so far what I've learned, this is an excellent pistol. Now, first thing we're going to do is make sure the guns are unloaded. So we're going to drop the magazine, check the chamber. Now, both guns come with steel magazines, and they're very similar actually in look, but they are both 15-in-1. Both of them have polymer frames, both of them have steel slides, and they have really good finishes. The Walther PPQ has a somewhat of a tenifer finish, which impregnates the metal and really holds up, gives it actually an extra Rockwell hardness. The P10C has a black nitride finish on it, which has really become popular because of a little bit more of the lubricity, and it does have a durable finish on it. Now, both guns also have ambidextrous features on it, which both guns have ambidextrous slide releases. But the Walther PPQ does not have an ambidextrous magazine release, which the P10C does, unless you get the paddle version. And if you get the paddle version with the mag release, then that is ambidextrous. And of course, the mag release can be switched to the other side. And both have great triggers. They're just exceptional, very crisp break, very short reset. And the ergonomics are really nice on both pistols. According to how it fits your hand, there are some differences, and we're going to look at that. But the ergonomics are great, and each one comes with replaceable back straps for small, medium, and large, you know, to fit your hand. Both have squared off trigger guards, both have accessory rails. Now, the number one thing we really want to look at is trigger pull. And the way the trigger feels between both of these pistols. I did again demonstrate that somewhat with the P10C, but we're going to take a second look at it just to kind of reinstate what we've seen. With the Walther, and of course you do have your blade right here, when you're bringing it in, there is just some resistance. You can hear it. So the take-up has a little bit of resistance. One of the big things, though, about the Walther is this. Real crisp. There was a little bit of hesitation right before the snap, but it was really nice. And we're going to check reset right there. So a good, solid, quick reset. Now here with the P10C, the trigger is much flatter. It's not completely flat. There is somewhat of a little bit of a curve here, but it's much flatter than the PPQ trigger. It does have the trigger safety right here, and when we bring it back, it's real smooth. I mean, it's just very consistently smooth. It's almost like it just kind of rolls in. And then once we get here, nice little break. Again, a little tiny bit of hesitation right before the snap. Reset is really quick, and that makes it nice. One of the things you'll notice too is once you pull the trigger, it stays in the rear position until you rack the slide again, and then it brings the trigger back out. With the PPQ, you pull the trigger and it pops back out. It's just spring loaded to come back out. Alright, let's check our trigger pull. We're going to start out with the PPQ first. 5 pounds, 1.5 ounces. 5 pounds, 1 ounce. 5 pounds even. With the P10C, 4 pounds, 3.9 ounces. 4 pounds, 12 ounces. 4 pounds, 5.8 ounces. So I would really say about the 4.5 pounds. So we're looking about a ½ pound difference between the two, around 5 pounds for your PPQ, around 4.5 pounds for the P10C. These are not super precise, even though they are. The big thing is how you pull the trigger back is just not consistent. That's why I do 3. But, you know, I got a little bit of a different reading when I first did this. And so, you know, it's all about where you put it on the trigger and how you pull it. But this still gives you a really good idea because it was already about ½ pound difference between the two in the first video. Now, side by side, we're just going to pull the triggers together. Oh yeah, there's a lot of take up right here. You can feel a lot more. Yeah, the CZ definitely has a better, crisper trigger. There's just no doubt about it. Weight on the P10C, 25.7 ounces. Weight on the PPQ, 24.4 ounces. So just a little over an ounce difference in weight. But one thing that some complain about with the PPQ is it does have a high bore axis, where the CZ P10C has a lower bore axis. That just means that the slide rides lower to the hand. And there are a lot that say, which I agree with this, that it actually helps with recoil. It keeps the slide lower, flatter. It's not as much of a lifting of your slide muzzle rise. Now, to give you more of a precise measurement between these two distances, the CZ slide is 1.23 inches from here to the top of the sight, and then on the Walther PPQ it's 1.35 inches. So that's a little over a 1/10 of an inch difference between the two. Now the texturing on the grip, of course I have Talon grips here on the PPQ, and that should tell you a little bit of something because the grips are pretty slick on the PPQ. It's a very ergonomic gun, it fits in the hand well, but it just seemed to have needed a little something, and adding the Talon grips really helped with this pistol. With the CZ, it has some polygonal little pyramids that go from the back strap, front strap, and then they're subdued more on the side. This gives you a really firm, good grip on the pistol. I will not be putting Talon grips on this because I am very pleased with this grip configuration. As far as grip thickness goes between the two, your CZ P10C is 1.25 inches this thickness, whereas the Walther PPQ is 1.32. So not quite a tenth of an inch difference, and again you do have a little bit more with the Talon grip. Because of this bulge right here, the maximum grip thickness is 2.5 inches, where it's only 2.1 with the CZ. And I'll tell you what, guys, you put these two in your hand and the CZ just feels a lot thinner. A lot of these numbers, you know, are small, but when you add them all together, they do add up. Now, a couple of minor things with the grip length. The PPQ does come down just a little bit. Actually, it's at an angle, so it's just really this front part that comes down. And I think a lot of that has to do with the high slide right here. But as far as length goes, the part of the barrel you see right here with the CZ makes this just a little bit longer. So it has a little bit longer slide, a little bit shorter frame. Now, as far as slide thickness goes, both slides are about the same width. The biggest difference is your slide releases. Of course, you can see that they kind of stick out just a little bit on the Walther, and on the CZ they're very flush and very minimal. And because of that, the width on the Walther PPQ is 1.35 inches, while the CZ is 1.23 inches, including your slide releases. Your P10C has metal sights, while the PPQ has polymer sights. And that goes to the front as well. Both have 3-dot sights from the factory, but you can get aftermarket sights for the PPQ, and I'm pretty sure, not positive, that you can do standard CZ sights for the P10C. And both the sights actually have somewhat of a cocking shelf if you want to do a one-handed reload off your belt. Now, guys, I want to clarify one thing. In the original video of the P10C, a lot of guys commented, had 3 or 4 comments, that they saw rust on the front sight and were asking about it. And I had inserted this in a Glock 26 holster, and it hung out the bottom, and when I pulled it back out, the leather caught right here on the sight. And I thought I'd gotten it off, but I didn't obviously get it all off. It's not rust. There's no rust on this front sight whatsoever. So I just wanted to clarify that. I had one guy to even accuse me of trying to deceive and hide that. So I just wanted to clarify. So we headed out to the range and we put both guns side by side and just began to shoot one after the other. We would shoot a few rounds out of one, switch off, shoot a few rounds out of the other one, just to get a good idea of how the trigger really affected the shooting, how the ergonomics, you know, in the hand, how it felt, good confidence of holding on to the grip, any kind of you know, hot spots on your hand, and then also just the bore axis, one being a little bit low, one being a little bit high, moving from target to target, things like that. And so there were a lot of great things that came out of our range session. I want to thank Freedom Munitions for sponsoring the ammo, and they do give a 5% Suits discount. Just put Suits 00 when you check out. Good shooting stuff.
It's typical CZ accuracy, what you would expect out of a CZ 75. And it's right on the money. So one thing that I have noticed with it, the mag catch
It's sticky.
It is, but the more you shoot it, it seems to loosen up. I don't know if there's like a little, if it needs to be rounded a little bit more so it'll roll out of that notch, or you know, maybe just wear on the magazines just a little bit where it comes out a little easier. Yeah, that's been my only complaint that I've had with it so far, that mag catch.
That's the one thing that I brought up.
Yeah. And it's a little short too. I mean, it could be extended probably 50 thousandths and not affect anything.
So I wanted to bring Robbie out from Wheaton Arms because he does a lot of custom builds. He does a lot of 3-gun steel challenge and really knows firearms as far as functionality and accuracy. And so Robbie, I know you were really excited about getting out to shoot this gun.
I have been. I've been waiting on this pistol from CZ for a long time. So it was nice to finally put my hands on it and get out and shoot it. It's a very, very nice pistol. A lot of things that I like about it, a few things that I don't. But you know, a lot of that's just personal preference.
Right.
You know, it's, for me, being a 1911 guy, it's got the 1911 grip angle, so it points very naturally for me. It's really thin, it's super light. I'm left-handed, so the gun's totally ambidextrous, which works very well for me with the ambi-mag release, the ambi-slide release. I like the trigger in it. There's a lot of features about this pistol that I really like. And compared to with the Walther PPQ, you know, it's got the PPQ trigger in it, which for me personally, I like the trigger in the new CZ better than I do the PPQ trigger. The CZ trigger is cleaner on the initial pre-travel, and the brake is very, very crisp on it with a really short reset. Where the PPQ, it feels good, it's light, it's got a short reset, but the trigger, it feels gritty.
Yeah, I think a lot of it with that take-up was a big deal.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
And it was funny because I didn't really notice it because I was so impressed with the crisp trigger brake as much until, you know, the CZ just blew that away. The ergonomics of the PPQ to me have always been really, really well done. There's somewhat of a palm swells. There's a couple here, but it just seems to fit in the hand. But and two, these have Talon grips on them.
It does.
So
yes.
This is a lot slicker when you're firing it from out of the box.
Right.
Whereas that was one thing you were talking about with the when you were gripping it and shooting it.
It's actually a little too aggressive for me. Yeah, I like a pistol that has some texture to it, enough to where it doesn't move around in your hands, but not so much that it leaves an imprint of the stippling in your hands after you've shot a couple of 100 rounds through it.
Now, for me, I felt the grip was great, and I shot about 300 rounds through it, and I just didn't personally. It was just for me, my preference. So again, you know, sometimes preferences.
Right, personal preference.
Now, one of the things I noticed is that the slide on the PPQ is much higher than on the CZ P10.
That's right. You've got a lot higher bore axis with the PPQ versus the CZ, and what that's going to directly relate to is more muzzle flip. The higher the bore gets over the center line of your hand, the more muzzle flip you're going to have. Where the CZ has a very low bore axis, which helps a lot with the recoil and muzzle flip.
Yeah, it's kind of different how when you bring this thing up, how it just seems to shoot so flat.
It does.
You get on target really fast.
It really reminds me of shooting an open gun for like we use in USPSA with the muzzle brake and the red dot sight and everything on it. It shoots a lot like an open gun where you get a really quick recoil impulse and the front sight just settles back on the target. It's a very, very soft shooting pistol. You can be very neutral with your grip on it. You don't have to grip it really hard to be able to control the gun.
Right, and that was one thing you mentioned shooting side by side, is that you felt like you had to get more of a grip on the PPQ than you did on the CZ. One of the things too, the CZ is cut. The undercut here is deep, which I really like. It allows you to get your hand up, where the Walther doesn't quite have that cut.
Yeah, and it's all the way around. You've got a really high undercut on the trigger guard, and you've got a really deep undercut for the web of your hand back here as well, which is on both of the pistols. With these pistols was a benefit and a drawback. It's nice having the deep undercut here to get your hand really high in the gun. It helps you to control recoil, the sharp edge on the back of the frame right here, I've got really big hands, so this area right here digs into my thumb while I'm shooting. And it does it on both pistols. They're both cut similarly. And you know, one of the things that really impressed me the most with this little pistol was the accuracy with it right out of the box. It was super accurate. I've always said the CZ75 pistols are some of the most accurate production pistols on the market. You can buy one, take it out of the box, take it to the range. You know, you're looking at most of the guns are an inch or better at 25 yards. This little guy right here is just like a CZ75. It hit wherever you pointed, whatever you put the front sight on, that's where the bullet hit.
Yeah, it almost feels like a polymer frame CZ75.
It kind of does, a little bit, yep. With the just the grip angle and the way that it's all cut, it does remind you of a CZ75 in your hand.
But of course, with the CZ, you've got the reverse slide rails with the frame, which really helps to keep the muzzle down. But I think they've done a great job engineering this to mimic that. You'll notice when I'm putting the CZ down into the bag, the sights definitely glow. And that's that luminescence. So that is another plus for the CZ. Now as far as disassembly goes, gun's unloaded, drop your magazine. Right here is your takedown. We got to pull our trigger first. Bring it back, pull your takedown tabs, and the slide comes right off. Here we have tabs here, so we pull the trigger, pull back, pull down, and the slide comes right off. Pretty much the same idea, just a little different mechanism. Now these internals have some similarities, but there's a lot of differences. You can see with the springs and the things back here, the Walther definitely is a little more complicated, and here the CZ is a little more, there's just not a lot going on as much. But one of the big differences to me is that the CZ has the locking block is all steel. With the Walther and with most of your striker fire pistols, they're just insert rails that are molded into the polymer frame. And this is actually one of the things that adds weight to the pistol over the PPQ. And another thing, because of the ambidextrous mag release, there is a frame that comes, a metal frame that comes all the way around, so you can actuate both sides. And I think that probably adds a little bit of weight as well. Now the P10C, this is the barrel, and you can see how much wider and thicker it is than the other barrel of the PPQ. It was the same way with the Glock. This is a very beefed up barrel. I think it has a little more chamber support. Now here you can see a little more detail with your feed ramp and the chamber. The CZ is definitely beefed up, and this is also going to add a little bit to the weight. Both of your guide rods are polymer. Okay, the PPQ is on the top, the P10C is on the bottom. This is your striker safety right here, and it's in the same position roughly as your Glock. When the trigger's pulled, this has to be disengaged, and there's something going over that to depress it down to release the safety in your striker. Here on the CZ, it's all the way here at the back, and I think that has a lot to do with the reason why it's so smooth up front, and then right at the end we have a little bit of wear at the back. And I think that's the reason why the trigger is superior, or one of the reasons, in the CZ. Now let's just talk about some of the generic differences between the two. First off is aftermarket support and a standing tradition. Walther, of course, has a great name behind the company. The PPQ has been out since 2011, which gives it, you know, a decent track record over the past 5, almost 6 years. So, you know, we know what to expect out of the Walther PPQ. With the P10C, we don't know, it's brand new. The aftermarket support, you know, we'll have to see how that goes. But, you know, that definitely is a plus for the PPQ. One of the great things, though, about the P10C is it will fit Glock 19 holsters. So there's a lot out there on the market, or if you already have a Glock 19, you're ready to go. And that really is a big coup for this pistol. Also have metal sights. We have polymer sights. I know they're aftermarket sights you can replace, but out of the box, metal versus polymer. The grip on the P10C is thinner, period. It's a little more easy to grip in the hand, and it has some really good texturing. On the Walther PPQ, it is a very ergonomic grip. I love the grip on this pistol. The only thing, the downside to me was that it was a little bit slick in the hand, and of course I fixed that with the Talon grips. But some people may find that this grip is really just perfect for them. But it's a little thicker, a little wider, And one of the things about the CZ, to me, that appeals to me more. If you have bigger hands, this may actually appeal to you more. One of the things about the Walther, and it's every time I grab it, I feel like my knuckle is right here. And with the recoil, it seems to want to hit right there. So I always kind of adjust my grip a little bit. And I find that is a little bit of a downside with the PPQ. And of course the trigger, we've already examined that. I just, to me, feel like that the P10C, there's a number of reasons why I like the trigger better. I think because it's flat. I think because of the way that the trigger or the striker safety works with the trigger, it's a little better on the P10C. But that still does not take away from the Walther PPQ. It is an excellent trigger. It's just what it is. Now, the thing is, these two pistols, though, overall are very comparable as far as in ergonomics and, you know, even the triggers. The triggers are great. I mean, when you really compare this together is one thing, but when you compare the PPQ with most of your other triggers, it's far superior. So, a great pistol in itself. And I will not be getting rid of my PPQ. I love this gun. Now, but one big thing that I think a lot of guys that are out looking to make a choice on either one of these is going to be the price. The Walther PPQ retails for $649. The P10C, $499. That's a $150 difference out of the box. You can find the PPQ for around $550 or something like, you know, in that ballpark. We don't know yet what kind of street price we're going to get with the P10C, but even if it's sold for full retail, it would still be $50 less than most of your PPQs. I really expect this to come in around the $425 to $450 mark. And when they first come out, they're going to be, you know, the price is going to be more of a premium. But one thing I definitely want to relate is don't take the word of one person before you purchase something, whether it's a gun, a backpack, or a flashlight. Check different reviews, see what people are saying. There are different people that will come out and have different views, different experiences, different hand sizes, and so, you know, you need to take all those things into consideration. I try to be as well-rounded and honest, in my opinion, as I can possibly be. As far as the P10C, this is what I've experienced with it, and it's been nothing but excellent. Could it break tomorrow? Yes, it could, but I don't really see that. It still has the CZ quality behind it. So I think I've now we've put about 600 rounds through this pistol now, and I feel pretty confident with this pistol. But the Walther PPQ is an excellent pistol in itself. And this may appeal to you. You may put it in your hand and say, this is what I've got to have. And there's a lot of guys that feel that way because Walther's sold a lot of PPQs. But I think if you're looking for one or the other, or you want to add another gun to your collection, just showing you the trigger in this one and a lot of the features, I think that the P10C is going to be a big hit. Is it going to be a Glock killer? Who knows? Who cares? Buy you a P10C and a Glock. And a PPQ. So guys, while I'm still a big fan of the Walther PPQ, it does have an exceptional trigger regardless. The P10C, to me, has a better trigger, but, you know, it's up to you. Put them both in your hands when you go to a local gun shop. Check them out. See which one fits you the best. We all have different hand sizes, we have different experiences, and we have different preferences. And so while the P10C for me is just really a game changer, the Walther PPQ may be a game changer for you. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Triggers. To me, in 2011, Walther introduced their did some comparison with the Glock PPQ up until now. The Walther are striker fire triggers, so I think that it's 2 point. So we went to the range and put each gun side by. Oh, you snap your finger.
Really aggressive. a little too aggressive for me, my sensitive hands.
Well, how'd it shoot, guys?